because at that point I wasn't sure if the baby was even alive or healthy.
I thought they were going to cut out a dead baby.
Yeah. Hi guys, welcome back to our channel. If you're new, my name is Hillary. This is my husband Zach. We have a 2-year-old son, and we just had our second son. He is right here. He's chilling. He's 2 weeks old. Today's video is going to be our birth story. If you have not seen our birth vlogs, we're not going to go into detail about some of the stuff that happened that we were able to actually vlog. So I will link those above. So go ahead and check those out first if you want to actually see the vlog, and then we're going to kind of fill in where the vlog ends when everything went crazy. So yeah, we're going to go ahead and jump into the video. So, Tuesday, just to kind of summarize, Tuesday, February 9th, I had a doctor's appointment. I went to my appointment. The midwife was actually running late, and so they basically were just like, do you want, and they knew I had an appointment at my high-risk doctor's at the hospital, so she was like, do you want to wait, or do you want to go ahead and go to the hospital? And I was like, I don't feel good, let's just go ahead and go to the hospital. I hadn't been feeling good for several days before then. We literally packed our hospital bags the Saturday before just because I just wasn't feeling good and we weren't sure what was going to happen. So anyways, we decided to go ahead and go to the hospital. I got there, got checked in, got up to get my ultrasound. When she's doing the ultrasound, the girl and I had become very friendly, and she didn't speak the whole time. So I was kind of nervous. My blood pressure was extremely high. I don't remember, I think it was like 170 over 100. Like it was something really, really high.
105.
Yeah, like something really high, like that they were concerned about. And what we found out later was that the thing they saw on the ultrasound was apparently the blood flow from the placenta to the baby was supposed to be like under 5 or something, I think.
Under 3.
Something like under 5, under 3, something like that. Whatever it was, is mine was like way over. So they were very concerned.
I think it was supposed to be under 3 and yours was like a 5.
Whatever it was something like that. Anyways, so something along those lines, the numbers were off. And so because of my blood pressure and the issue with the placenta and the blood flow that they saw on the ultrasound, they said, don't pass go, don't collect $200, go straight to labor and delivery. So I went downstairs. Well, I went out to the car and I'm crying because I was not prepared for this. I got in the car with Zach to drive me around to labor and delivery, and we immediately called my dad to come and pick up Sebastian, and we thought that this was going to be just a well, initially we weren't really sure what was going to be. I got in by myself because I had to wait for my dad to get there. So I was alone for like the whole first half of this, which was like scary in and of itself because I was not in a healthy headspace. But I got checked in and they told me that they were going to keep me for 24 hours. So we were like, oh, okay, great. They ran a bunch of blood work. They did my COVID test. And all of this is in the hospital vlog, so you can check out all the details in that. But basically, the first 24 hours, they did my urine test, and that was kind of what determined that we were going to stay longer. So the next day, when they got my urine results back, the next day we kind of just hung out waiting for the results. Once they got the results back, it was that night at like midnight or something when they came in, and they basically said, we're going to go ahead and like we're doing an immediate induction. And this is not really captured in the vlog because it was it's chaotic. We literally were like thinking we were just going to go to sleep and like just hang out until the next morning.
We just turn the lights out.
We're just like hanging out till the next morning and thinking we were going to go home in the morning. That was 100% what we thought. And then like when the nurse comes in, she comes in with like 10 things in her hands, and she goes, okay, you need to wake up, you need to sit up, we've got to start magnesium, we've got to do this. And me and Zach are both just like, what? Like, we were going to sleep. So very stressed out. She immediately attached me to the magnesium, gets me on all the other IVs that I have to be on, and we're stuck. We're like, we're staying, we don't know when we're leaving. So they started the induction, and we knew we were gonna have a baby soon. So they started me on my first round of Cervidil. I was like, I know it starts with a C. They started me on my first round of Cervidil. We spent those 12 hours sleeping, kind of whatever, going through all of that. Then after that dose came out, I was able to get up, take a shower, kind of walk around, whatever. And I knew that the first dose of Cervidil had actually caused some contractions, caused me to, whatever I said in the vlog, I had dilated to like a 1 and I was like 60 or 70% effaced, I think. Like I had actually done something, so we were like stoked, thinking it was going to be great.
I think it was like 40 the first time, and then when
no, it was like 60 because the second time was like 80. Because I was thinking it was like really good. Like I had done a lot. I was past 50. Like I was excited, thinking we were like gonna be set to go. So we were thinking that the Cervidil was doing a great job. So they told me that they were gonna start a second dose, and I was like, can I walk around, blah blah blah. So was kind of able to do some exercise in between to try and see if I could push my body into natural labor. Then they decided we're gonna go ahead and do the second dose. So they put that dose in, and we had to wait 12 more hours. By this point, I don't even know what day it is. We were vlogging during some of this. When they took the second dose out, I was like thinking like I was so excited, thinking we were gonna be doing great. They took it out and told me I had basically not progressed at all. I had, I think, gone from like 60 to 80% effaced, but I had not dilated anymore. And I was super bummed, and I was like, in my gut, thinking I was gonna have to have a C-section. Should have gone with my gut, but whatever, we didn't. So at that point, we were waiting for the doctor to come in and kind of determine what we were gonna do next. So I guess like an hour later, they came in and they say, hey, we wanna do a third dose of Cervidil. And I was like, negative, don't wanna spend 12 more hours in the bed. That's not what I wanna do. What's another option? Bless you. I said, that's not gonna happen. Don't wanna do that. What's another option? So they agreed that we could go ahead and start the Pitocin. So I took another shower, I got ready so that I would be prettier. And then they were able to come in and start the Pitocin. This is kind of where things started to get a little bit more crazy. They started the Pitocin. Not at first, but like they started the Pitocin and they said in 2 hours we're gonna come back and check. Well, once I was on the Pitocin for probably like the first hour, the baby Zeb would not stay still. They could not keep his heart rate monitored. So they come in and then my contractions went from like nothing to like. No,
the first hour they started you out at like 1 milliliter.
Okay, yeah, you remember this part better.
And then they come in like 45 minutes later and say, okay, you're handling this well, the baby's handling it well. We're gonna bump you up to 3. Still handling everything fine. He's kind of moving around off the monitor at this point, not much, but a little bit. And then after about 30 minutes of the 3, then they come in and like, oh, we're gonna bump you up to 5, and that's when everything started going haywire.
Yeah, that was when the contractions went super crazy, and I kind of started, I guess I blacked out through more of this, but it's also been 2 weeks, and I have, like, can't remember half of the stuff that happened. But my contractions started getting more intense, and I was asking for my epidural, and they couldn't get the baby's heart rate. They could not, like, find it and keep it checked, so they couldn't take me off to do the epidural. Well, I can, sorry. Well, then in my brain he was the baby because we didn't know what he was. So I was asking for my epidural and they were telling me they couldn't do that yet, so I had to keep waiting. This was when my pain started to get like really high and I literally was kind of like zoned out. I was just like in the contractions. I wasn't listening to anyone around me. And at this point it's kind of when you're gonna have to kind of start sharing stuff that happened. But pain started getting intense and then the monitor started dropping, and then I guess you can kind of say like how the next like few hours kind of progressed.
So things started going haywire. He wouldn't stay on the monitor. They had to get him on the monitor. He had to be monitored for like 45 minutes or something like that consecutively
before they could give me
before they could give her the epidural,
which never happened.
Yeah, which never happened. But pretty much they came in and were like, okay, like, you gotta be super still. I know it's gonna be hard, but like every time you contract, the baby dips. So at one point, literally to where he'd stay on the monitor, I could hear the monitor. I couldn't really see it, I could hear it. I was holding the bands on her stomach with my fingers to where when she was contracting, I'm helping with contractions, but holding that thing on to where the nurse's station could catch his heartbeat during the contraction. And they're like, okay, they came in, they're like, oh, we actually got his heart rate. I was like, yeah, I was holding the thing on that time. They're like, oh, okay, we'll keep doing that. And then they were like, we might have to put in a fetal Doppler, like.
They couldn't track enough of his heart rate to get like a consistent amount or whatever to take him off to give him the epidural. So they said that at that point they were discussing having to do the internal fetal Doppler on his head in order to get like a consistent heart rate. But they had to wait on the doctor to get there to do that, and she was at her other office, so we were waiting for her to get there to put that in. Pretty much jumping ahead to when, so we're not just like rambling.
Yeah.
When she got there is kind of when everything went crazy. She got there, she came in, and they started trying to put that Doppler on him like immediately, and I was in tragic amounts of pain.
Yeah.
Like it hurt so bad. And then I don't really know what was happening. Like they tried to put that in, and then you're gonna have to.
Yeah, they pretty much like tried to get the Doppler in. Once they got it in, I don't even know if they got it fully connected, because they were.
I don't think they ever could fully get it like on there, because they never could get the heart rate. Like they never could consistently get it on there.
Yeah, I mean she was contracting so hard. Like between contractions, they tried to find a window, and then finally they were like. Last thing I heard was like, heart rate was like 50 during contractions because he was dipping so bad. And then like all of a sudden it was like, no, we got to get baby out now.
Yeah, I literally heard them say.
I mean, it went from like, okay, we're going to try to find the heart rate to like, no, we're leaving the room right now, going straight to the
Yeah,
room.
I literally remember the doctor going, we've got to get him out now, or we've got to get the baby out now. And it was at that moment when you can share your side, but I literally was like so intense in the pain that I remember just like going silent. And I remember the only thing I remember telling Zach was get the camera, because at that point I thought we were gonna, be able to be in the room and he was gonna be able to be a part of the C-section. And I was like, get the camera, and he's like, the camera's not even a big deal, blah blah blah. And I remember like as they were like wheeling me out, I'm like trying to open my eyes because I wanted to remember like what I was seeing, but I was like also in so much pain and like so much fear of what was going on, because at that point I wasn't sure if the baby was even alive or healthy, and it was really scary. So they get me in the OR, and I remember looking up and I was like, oh my gosh, like this is a real OR, like this is crazy. And I didn't have my glasses on or my contacts in, so I couldn't see anything. And the nurse literally was like, somebody was like, hey, can you sign this piece of paper? And I'm just like laying there like, what am I signing? And I like scribbled something on a piece of paper with all these things attached to me. And then they asked me, they were like, okay, you gotta move. And I like didn't know what I was supposed to do. I was in so much pain, but I had to move from my hospital bed to the OR bed. And so I kind of like slowly did that, and they helped me. And then I remember they put the anesthesia on me, and they were like talking, like I could feel them down here, and they were like, get the beta done, blah, blah, blah. And like I was like hearing people rustling around. And then they were like, grabbed the anesthesia and they put it on. And I remember at first like fighting it, because I'm very claustrophobic. I do not like things on my face. And so they put that on, and I was literally like fighting it and trying to like just like ignore it and go to sleep as fast as possible so that it would kick in and I would be out of it, because I absolutely hate that thing on my face. And I think it was like seconds and I was out. And that's pretty much when.
So when everything went from 0 to 100 real quick, they started wheeling. Well, they were like unlocking the wheels and everything to the bed, and like things were in the way, and then I went to like Super Saiyan mode and just started moving things out of the way. Like just, lady couldn't get the table moved fast enough to unplug something, so I just like almost threw it through the window. I didn't really know what was going on. They finally got her out of the room, and my brain, like I didn't know either. Like I honestly thought they were.
It was really scary.
I thought they were going to cut out a dead baby.
Yeah.
So I prepared my brain and went to a super dark place just to where I could get it over with, where I could be okay for her.
Yeah, it was very scary.
I'm like 6'5", like 6'4", 6'5". I'm a big dude, and I'm like in the fetal position, screaming at the top of my lungs because I didn't know what was going on.
Thank God a nurse like stayed with him. She probably thought he was absolutely psycho.
Yeah, I mean nobody was really talking to me. They were worried about her, which is what they needed to do. But
like one of the nurses did stay with him.
Yeah, for a minute until I was like, I'm fine. I just needed my own space. Like,
yeah,
I have to get this to myself.
But it was like seconds. Like how long would you say like before they had the baby out, like and brought to you? Like by the time they wheeled me back.
When he was out, probably 2 minutes, 3 minutes
like,
max.
That's how emergent it was. It's like seconds after they got me back.
And then like once I saw him, it was like 5 to 10 minutes.
They pretty much like brought him over and like told you he was a boy.
Like they came out and they're like, baby's out, baby's healthy, mom's fine, it's a boy. And I was like, oh great, that's exactly how I wanted to find out what
yeah, because the whole, obviously if you didn't know, he was a surprise gender, which I think I said earlier in this video, but we didn't know what he was.
But nurse just pops her head out the OR, it's a boy, goes right back to doing her job.
One thing we really wanted this time was, one, we wanted to be able to cut the cord, which didn't happen obviously, and two, we wanted to be able, like I wanted Zach to be able to tell me the gender, like I wanted him to get to see it first and kind of like have that moment. We waited this whole 9 months, or really like 8 months for that moment, and like it was kind of ripped away from both of us. But we're both alive, so the end it's okay. But yeah. Anyways, so they brought him out and they immediately took him to the NICU, right?
Yeah, we all walked to the NICU, and then Like he was in there before I was, because I was spaced out. I finally get in the NICU with him, and like the nurses are huddled around him, like talking about how small he is, but how long he is, how long his feet are. These are the biggest feet on a baby I've ever seen, especially preemie. And then I walk in, and then they looked at me, looked at him, said, "Oh, makes sense," and then that was it. And then they're doing all the tests on him, everything's coming back fine. And then I was
So did you stay with him for like the rest of the time when they were sewing me up?
No, once they said he was fine, like I was good to go, I was still so distraught that I just didn't find, I was like, okay, and then I just went back to the room we'd been in. And I was walking, they were like, oh, she'll either be in there when you get in there or seconds after you get in there.
Okay.
And then I'm still pacing. I paced around the room for like, almost burnt a circle into the ground, walking in circles in that room for like 15-20 minutes. And then finally he came in, and then they wheeled him in afterwards, and then all was
I remember they wheeled him in, and I was very out of it. But they were like, he's healthy, or baby's healthy, everything, blah, blah, blah. And I remember like saying, what's the gender? And this is how I know Zach was so stressed out, because I remember saying, what's the gender? And the nurse said something, but I didn't consciously hear her. I was, like I said, very out of it.
She said, oh, it's a beautiful boy.
And Zach literally was like, I ask everyone not to tell her that. I wanted to tell her, blah, blah, blah. And it was this big thing, which I was like, Zach, I didn't even hear her. It's okay.
There were some extreme choice words to that nurse. And then
but anyways, then they brought him over. They brought him over and laid him. I got to hold him. And I remember Zach walked over, and he literally was just like, he looks just like Sebastian. He's just like Sebastian. And then I like looked at him, and I was like, he's just so tiny. Like, I remember like, oh my gosh, he's so tiny. But at that point, everything was okay, and we had our baby, and it was great. But I do want to throw in that I have a friend. She's kind of like my sister. She works at the hospital. Anyways, she did tell us that they only have, like, since she's worked there for like 2 years, she's only seen 2 like emergency sections where they put the mom to sleep. Like that they don't do that at that hospital. That's how rare it is. So it was definitely a very traumatic experience for the fact that they actually had to put me to sleep. There was no like waiting, there was no second guessing. Never did get an epidural. So
there was no, oh, we can just locally anesthetic.
Yeah, there was no waiting. No. Like Zach said, I mean, it was like 2 minutes. They had me back there asleep and cut him out. So it was all very rushed and very crazy. Very much not what we planned.
No.
But in the end, it all worked out. So then, fast forwarding, we had him, we're good. The first night, everything was fine. They had checked his sugar levels, and they were like so surprised that he was preemie and I was breastfeeding and that his sugar levels were staying up. But they were like, as long as they stay up, he can stay with you, that's fine. So we were excited because he was maintaining, everything was good. The next day, they come in and thankfully my mom was like near the hospital or was at the hospital, because they came in and we were literally, I was talking to her and holding him, and everyone from the pediatrics, whatever on-call people came in, and they're like, his jaundice levels are crazy high, we need to take him to the NICU now. And I remember just being like traumatized. I was like, you're taking him away from me again after all this other trauma I just experienced. And so they took him away, and I remember just like sobbing. And thankfully that the COVID rules were like that you only were allowed 1 person, but they allowed my mom to stay with me, and I immediately sent Zach to the NICU to be with the baby. And thankfully they allowed us to do that, because I would have been traumatized thinking he was alone, because I was still on magnesium for 24 hours after delivery. So I couldn't get up, I couldn't go see him, I couldn't be with him, I couldn't hold him, I couldn't do anything. So Zach had to be with him. That was like my biggest thing. And then at that point, or right before, the lactation consultant had come in, and so she was there when they took him, and so she immediately went and got me a hospital pump so that I could immediately start pumping for him, because I knew I had milk because I was still nursing Sebastian, but I did not want to have to do formula. So we tried everything to try and pump as much as possible. And so for the first like day in the NICU, he had all my breast milk, and he was fine, his numbers were fine, he was just kind of trying to like grow. And then the next day when I was finally finally able to go to like moved rooms and finally able to walk to the NICU, like literally I was like up and I was like, can I go to the NICU? And they were just like, if you want to walk that far. And I truly think part of my recovery is because he was in the NICU, because I had to walk like down the whole hallway, turn the corner, and then go up another hallway to get over to the NICU. And I did that every 3 hours for the first like 3 days. But yeah, so he was in the NICU, and eventually we ended up having to substitute some formula. Not a big deal, we're over it. But now that we're back, so like then his numbers, they basically had agreed that if his sugar levels, his jaundice levels were fine, so they had cut the lights off. Those were coming back fine. They weren't having to raise them. So he was just waiting on his sugar levels. And they had agreed with me that if I was substituting formula and that for 3 feeds in a row, his numbers were over 60, then he could come into the room with us. And so all of that happened, and then his last feed, his number was like 64, and it was like his midnight feed, or like 11 o'clock feeding on Valentine's Day. I walked all the way to the NICU, and they said, oh, she's about to bring him to you. And I was like so excited. I like almost ran back to the room to tell Zach, and got back in our room, and then they brought him to us, and he stayed with us that night, and we thought we were still gonna have one more day of being in the hospital. But the next morning, they actually came in and said, hey, do you want to go, or he's good to go home, do you want to go home? And we're like, yeah, well, let's get out of here. We've been here for a week. I want to go see Sebastian. And so we were able to get all that done, and then they did his car seat test on the last day, and he passed, even though his car seat, because he was so small, he didn't fully fit in the car seat, but he did pass his car seat test. And then they went ahead and did his circumcision, and we had to wait for him to pee, which felt like hours.
Oh, you can leave. Oh, wait, you gotta wait for him to pee.
Yeah, we were so ready to go.
Up to 8 to 12 hours.
We were so ready to go, and we just had to sit and wait for him to pee. And finally, she brings him my discharge paperwork, and she goes, I'm gonna mess with him for a second and see if I can get him to go. Literally, she lays him down and takes his diaper off and starts like tickling him, and he immediately starts peeing, and we were like, woohoo, we get to leave. So we were so excited. We packed up everything, and Zach was literally like, if you watch our going home vlog, you can literally see how fast Zach is walking in front of me because we were so done being there. And then we got to come home and Sebastian got to meet him for the first time, and that was so cute. If you haven't seen that video, I'm linking it above. You should go watch it. It's absolutely the cutest video ever. But yeah, so then we got home and we spent our first week, I spent the first week on the recliner, and I didn't move, and Zach slept in the bed by himself. But yeah, now we're...
Not at first.
Well, yeah, the first couple of nights, Zach did sleep in the living room with me because I literally couldn't do anything. I couldn't get up and walk. Like, I think all the hospital stuff I had done too soon almost, and so by the time we got home, I was so sore. But yeah, so now he is 18 days old today. He had his newborn photo shoot this morning, and everything was... He's perfect. We're perfect. We're healing. And yeah, so it was very traumatic, but in the end, it all worked out. Yep. So... we've decided if and when God should ever bless us with more children, we will 100% plan a C-section, because 2 traumatic births is more than enough for me. I do not ever want to experience either birth ever again the way that we had to go through them. But yeah, so like I said, that's our birth story. If you want to check out the actual vlogs, they're linked above. So it's pretty much every video related to coming home, birth, all of that. So go and check those out. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I guess I should show you Zeb, since this was his... Oh, you're smiling. Do you want to talk to the camera for a second? Oh. Oh. I'm going to say be sure to like and subscribe. Say look how cute I am. Say be sure to subscribe so you can watch me grow. Look at that face. Say thank you guys so much for watching. Say see you in the next video. Are you gonna cover it?